Hello, I'm Craig Ball, and I'm here at the 4th Annual University of Florida Levin School of Law EDRM, eDiscovery Conference in Gainesville, Florida. I have the pleasure today of chatting with Jon Rowe. Jon is the founder and chief executive officer of Pinpoint Laboratories, well known for its collector products. Jon's here from Omaha, and Jon, in chatting before we talked, it seems you and I have a common background in computer forensics. You're trained as a forensic examiner and a CCE, as I understand.
That's correct, yeah.
And so how is it that your experience as a forensic examiner led you to build your own tools that have become so successful and so integral to collection?
Well, I think it's from my background in software development. A lot of things get developed out of needs, as you know. And I often tell this story. I was in a little bank in Kansas, and after a couple days of no sleep and imaging hard drives, and at 2 a.m. trying to use some other tools to collect a large amount of data, and airing out and going offline and putting my head through a wall, it was just like, there has to be a better way. So we began developing tools like what's become popular called Safe Copy, and that was a simple, forgivable, you start a job, something goes down, you can resume it, you can reprocess errors, no going through a bunch of logs to try to figure out what went wrong, right?
So important with the terabyte drives today too, of course.
And there's so much data out there. I've been in manufacturing companies where literally the buildings are so old they'd recycled like 5-6 times a day. The servers go offline, and you're trying to get back to what you were doing. And so these tools were just really built out of the necessity of going out there and needing to get all that data in a defensible manner. Better yet, though, is being forgiving and being able to get it once things go wrong.
Well, the model you and I trained with is the grab everything, leave nothing behind, authenticate everything. But that's not really a model that's very efficiently suited to electronic discovery.
Sure.
What is it about your tools that bring significant efficiencies to eDiscovery?
Right, so just being able to focus on, instead of a complete hard drive image, we can go after whether it's file types, folders, date range, but then Safe Copy's big brother came out about 6 years ago, and it's called Harvester. It's a very popular application and used in some of the biggest government agencies and corporations. And the reason that we built that was the things that were typically eDiscovery downstream, like keyword search, dedupe, DNIST, and targeting the data, they want to do that up front. They want to do that when they're collecting information.
Sure.
And so our customers come to us and say, it would be really cool if you could take a flash drive or a hard drive and program it to do all of this stuff up front.
On the fly.
On the fly. And we figured out how to do that without even installing anything on the computer, which we were, I think, the first to do a lot of those things because, again, we had to figure out how to make everything live on that little device. And so we came out with Harvester, and it was a huge success. And just because, whether it's the judges and the council agreeing on a set of search terms, or legal counsel saying, I can't afford to produce, we can't afford to produce everything, it's cost prohibitive. And so they would start refining this. And so Harvester allowed them to go in, send out hard drives and target just the stuff that they really wanted to look for.
I understand.
So that, that was a huge success.
Now you were on a panel today and you discussed the role of collections. What was the panel's topic today?
We created essentially a fictitious case where there were 1,500 offices, a part of a brokerage firm, and as a class action suit. And we needed to essentially find the best way, the most cost-effective way to get to the core documents and emails that were relevant, right, to the matter. And so we discussed the law, we discussed the technology, and the trade-offs between collect everything versus just, go in there and get what you need.
Now what you do is so important. Obviously, you're at the mouth of the river, so to speak.
In front of the line.
Right. If it doesn't come out right from your end, it's hard to make it right down below. So there's a big responsibility for building the tools that can make that happen. And you're finding, your clients are finding great efficiencies from being able to DNIST and dedupe at the collection point, aren't they?
Correct. We have case studies where people went from 5 terabytes of data down to 100 gigabytes or 200 gigabytes. We see, it's not uncommon to see maybe a 90 or 95% reduction from all of that information.
Absolutely.
And so that saves money all the way downstream.
But
you
your
know?
tools are also tracking what they're deduplicating, so nothing,
Correct.
no unique information is lost in the process.
No, I've done a lot of depositions and done expert work in court, and one of the best things you can do is walk in with a stack of paper and an audit trail and go, this is how we did it, here's our chain of custody, and they filter through a few pages and then they're like, okay, enough said, let's move on. So the thing we try to do in the tools is in Harvesters, there's up to 28 different logs and reports it generates, whether it's duplicates, exceptions, the chain of custody reports and things like that. So people love taking that and sending it to opposing counsel and go, any questions, right? And they're like, no, I think we're good there.
So in the dictionary under defensible, your picture is right off in the margin.
Yeah, the reports aren't very exciting to look at, of course, but it's just.
But they do their job.
But they do their job.
Make the lawyers happy.
Yeah.
As we wrap this up, Jon, what's got you excited in the next couple of 2 to 3, 4 years in eDiscovery? What have you got your eye on you think that's going to make a big difference? Not necessarily your products, but just in the industry at large.
Well, the number of sources that the potential discovery comes from. So you go from a hard drive on somebody's computer or some data out on a server somewhere, and now it's there's corporations, government agencies going to Google Docs and going to Office 365, and they're making that commitment to move their their discoverable information from local to on the in the cloud, and we hear that every single day. But getting it so that these types of tools and the technologies are equipped to log into an Office 365 account or log into a Google corporate email server and those types of things. And so I think
particularly when they're unattended, pre-programmed,
exactly,
getting that authentication just right.
Yeah, and the timeout issues are huge because, and I think I read an article from you a couple weeks ago that was dealing with cloud-based collections and stuff, and as we evolved our tools into this area and doing IMAP connections, you realize there's restrictions within those providers as far as how much you can request. Throttling it. And
bringing the bandwidth down, right?
And so from a development standpoint, that's a big challenge to try to build something where everybody needs it yesterday. And it's one thing to do that on a hard drive. It's another to go do that in the cloud somewhere. And so we got mobile devices, we've got tablets, we've got phones. But those are all, our discoverable information is getting expanded, and the number of sources, and where it goes is getting expanded.
So should we look forward to Pinpoint Collector as a cloud application that'll be able to go right to the data?
Oh, sure. We actually also have a SharePoint Collector app that's now deals with Office 365.
Very good.
But our Harvester 5 product we've been working on for a little over a year deals with all the different IMAP accounts, so Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, Office 365, those types of things. So as our clients, discoverable sources expand, we've constantly trying to keep up with the where they want to go to get their information.
Phones and social networking
yeah.
on the development map.
We have mobile devices are definitely there, and social networking, we've been kind of, it was hot there, it seemed like, for a while, and I'm not saying it's not anymore, but it seemed to subside a little. It's not in our plans. I know some companies have done some great strides in that area. We haven't spent any time in that area, but mobile devices, and we built an app about 8 years ago. We shelved. It was kind of before its time, but it was probably the first. It was a cloud-based collection tool. You logged in, you created your job, and you spawned off your application. And people weren't quite, sometimes you can be a little ahead. And so I think our tools have come full circle to where, even though I don't think a large percentage of collections should be shoving 5 or 10 gigs up a wire somewhere, I do think there's times where remote users, if they could download the software and run an automated job like we showed today, and get it up to a secure server somewhere. And so those are some additional areas we're expanding into. So mobile devices, the cloud, different cloud sources, and making some tools just available online a little bit quicker. So
very good.
Yeah.
Jon, thanks for being with me.
All right, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Safe journey back to Omaha. Give
All
my
right.
best to Warren
You
Buffett.
too. I will do. I don't see him, but if I do, I will let him know that you said hello.
If he can get a fourth, we'll all play bridge.
All right, thank you.